So Max Planck, the way Max Planck talks about how ideas succeed, it's not necessarily that you convince the opposition that your ideas are right, but that those who grew up with the ideas are familiar with them and they know that they're true. Okay, so every scientific revolution or any progress we have made, the smart folks have adopted that knowledge as truth and has carried that work forward. So, Isaac Newton, that was a big revolution. Albert Einstein was a big revolution, and hopefully their work will be continued. So UK had beat U of L last night, and so now they're reigning champs. The terrorists have been emboldened, right? They're UK has been emboldened since they had beat the current reigning champions. They're the ones with the crown. It hasn't been declared a new one yet, so they're still the champions. But since they had lost to UK, that could be an indication of a superior team. So I wanted to talk about the history of UK. Here in U of L, I was actually, in Louisville, I was kind of, I was shocked to see how many young black uh, boys were wearing UK wear. And so, just be on the Targ bus, and I saw, so many Louisvillian kids were wearing UK gear. And that's fine, I mean, they're young, people can cheer for whatever team they want to cheer for. They are mostly black players who play for them, and that does elevate, can give possibly a poor kid a chance to succeed. So, like who you want to like, that's cool. But, don't ignore, like, the history of it. Know what you're liking. So, right, it was interesting. It seemed like UK had a big, their basketball team was just a bunch of shacks. So I feel like they're slow, dim-witted, big giants, just stupid jocks, right? And so I feel like you could just Smith them, just fucking go straight in and dunk over them, and just that's it. You can just outplay them, outpace them, outrun them. They're big, but they're clumsy, and they're not in the pass game and doing little different dribbling and fancy footwork tricks. And they probably suck at field free throws too. So John Calipari, he's the head coach of UK. Orlando Antigua is the assistant coach. Kenny Payne, John Robick, Ray Oliver, Mike Malone, Chris Simmons, Chris Woolard, Rod Strickland, Preston Spradlin. They said he's from Alice Lloyd, so that's one Kentuckian that's employed in Calipari's team, and that's the only Kentuckian. So he only has one Kentuckian that he's actually paying any money to. So Calipari, I think that's Italian. That sounds Italian. He's there wasn't one single Italian in the founding of Kentucky. It was Irish and Germans and Welsh, but you know Italians. I don't recall any Italians or Italians, Retalians. So why rebel against rebels? Because I'm a Wildcat. Um, I grew up in Gallatin County, and the mascot is Wildcats there. So the blue, red. I like the colors. Okay, so I feel like I liked UK better than U of L just because it was a blue color, and blue is like blue sky, right? It's beautiful. But red is communism. Red is blood. Red's a badass color. Um, and also choosing a fucking team based on the color, that's so stupid. It should be based on the talent. If a basketball team is good, then it's good. If it's not, it's not. Um, so I don't know. I want to look into this UK U of L rivalry that's been going on. It seems nonsensical. Seems like a distraction. Seems like we could be uh, fighting over who's invented more things, which is U of L. U of L's invented more things, which is more useful to people. The emergency room, anytime you use the emergency room, which has sort of been the health insurance plan for poor people up until Obamacare. If you use the emergency room, if you use the ambulance service, that is because U of L, the University of Louisville, had established those institutions. You also have the first hand transplant and the first heart transplant. So if you need a fucking heart, U of L's got the research that'll be able to help you out. If you need a hand, U of L's got the research that be able to figure that out for you, figure out how to give you a hand, right? So choosing a basketball team institution should not be based on the color of their jerseys or their skin, right? I mean, Adolf Rupp Arena, Adolf Hitler, Rupp Arena. There is a reason. There is a there is a legacy of white supremacy throughout all of Kentucky since 1774 until present day. In Lexington, they're arresting poor old not Leon Brackens, but another skinny, the hardest working man in show business is, see, I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black and I'm proud. James Brown. So James Brown, it's this homeless guy, and it's not even, his name isn't even James Brown, but that's his nickname. Okay. So James Brown has been arrested over 1,500 times in Lexington. That's the fucking city that is that's got the UK, that's got the religion of loving the Wildcats here in Kentucky, and actually that it is a religion, and kind of, I don't know, I think part of it's a play on words. So like when you say I'm going to the Kentucky game, it's like all the states, you love your state, you love yourself, but that's not, it's the University of Kentucky out of Lexington, right? So U of L is just a Kentucky team, Western, Eastern, uh, Murray State, these are all Kentucky teams, and so I'm happy whenever any Kentucky team succeeds. So the Adolf fucking Rupp Arena, Adolf Rupp, like you bunch of Hitler loving motherfuckers. Okay, that's UK fans. Adolf Rupp, you have a Rupp Arena. Do you know who Adolf Rupp is? He's like one of the fucking most racist motherfuckers like on the planet. Okay, he was like the last fucking establishment figure in college basketball, from which the integration of college basketball had happened. Since 1972, he was president, or he was the coach for UK for like 40 fucking years. So a fucking dickhead. He's a totalitarian dictator, right? Probably barking orders and shit. Do this, do that. Thinks he's a fucking badass. Been in there for 40 years, and he's mostly known for not having any black basketball players during the 1960s. So he was going to keep the legacy of all white, all pure Aryan, Anglo-Saxon Protestant nation, alive and well. And it's unfortunate that it happened, but also it's unfortunate that you would carry the legacy of a piece of shit like that, a piece of shit white supremacist fucking dickhead bitch. I mean, he's a dickhead. He was a bad fucking dude. He was not a good person, so he might have won a championship or two, but at what cost? And the fact that he had no black players. Just look at college basketball. Look at all sports actually today. In fact, I would say that's where racism comes from, is the jealousy of black bodies. And so what do we got today? We got Calipari and we got fucking Pitino. We got two white men who's exploiting black male bodies and making money off of black male bodies, who's working for free. So there's still the masters and there's still the slaves. There's still the bosses and the free labor workers. And that's unfortunate, that legacy carries on like that, because the players should be paid. They keep on getting exploited just every year, every 4 years. You keep on getting these young, youthful folks who want a chance at the big times, or to do something with their lives, or to just have fun, or just to play a game, and and they don't even get paid for it. Calipari, I've picked on Calipari for paying his players, and that's it's illegal, like by NCAA standards, to pay your players like anyway, like to give them a free ticket or a free ride or a car or anything like that. But he's right. I mean, he would be in the right to pay his players, because they are, they work a lot. They put in the practice, they put in the physical exertion, and work as a team, work on different drills. I mean, they work, and people enjoy watching their work, so they sell shit tons of tickets. So UK has a long history. The entire institution really of college basketball is racist, but the in UK it's actually bigger. Okay, so it's bigger than that. the UK, Kentucky's, there's very few black people that live here. They went Confederate after the Civil War, and after they went Confederate, you had Bariah Magafin, who eventually stepped down, and then Lincoln chose Thomas Bramlett, and Thomas Bramlett becomes governor. And just within a year, he turns on Lincoln, and he's saying that he's going to baptize Kentucky in the Confederacy, like in the most, in a bloody fashion. He's going to bloodily baptize Kentucky into the Confederacy. He wanted the 13th Amendment to be passed to abolish slavery because he says the time has come for the institution. It wasn't passed until 1976. The 14th and 15th Amendment he had opposed, which was the definition of citizenship and the stopping of discrimination of black folks at the voting booth. And so that's the 15th Amendment. So he was opposed to that. He was opposed to having black folks in the militia, which actually, out of the 100,000 Kentuckians that fought in the Civil War, 1/4, 250,000 um, of the or the 25,000 of the troops were African American. They were black folks. So to be opposed to such a smart military tactic, especially when the institution of slavery was wrong, and it was an institution eventually who he would admit whose time has come. So you have Thomas Bramlett, who in 1865, sees basically the war come to a close, and the Union had prevailed, but he was still very much like on states' rights. Once he got the power of the gauntlet, he was a Kentucky man. And so Thomas Bramlett, he was a black hating, he was a racist, Confederate loving piece of shit governor. And in 1865, he did try to do some decent things. He had founded the Agricultural Mechanical College of Kentucky, which is eventually going to be a chartered. It's going to be chartered into the University of Kentucky. So John Bryan Bowman founded the Agricultural Mechanical College of Kentucky, A&M, publicly chartered department of Kentucky University, after receiving federal support through the Morrill Land Grant Colleges Act in 1865. So, I mean, remember when they burnt their town down like last year? That was entertaining. That was fun to watch, right? So the courses were offered, the first UK courses, not to bounce back and forth, but they were offered at Ashland, the Henry Clay estate. So Henry Clay was a plantation owner. He was for decolonization. He was for sending black people back to Africa. He wasn't for emancipation, and he was a slave owner. So he owned slaves at Ashland, the Henry Clay estate. So they're offering courses at a plantation. Doubtful if any black folks were there. They also did not allow women, so it was just a white male institution. UK started out as a white male institution on a plantation, being funded, by a governor who was against the Freedmen's Bureau and really Reconstruction. He was like Andrew Johnson. John Wilkes Booth fucked freedom up for black people. He fucked it up so like it was a great tactic that he was a Confederate sympathizer, so he killed Lincoln. That made Andrew Johnson the president, who he started forgiving all these Confederates, just willy-nilly, not really giving them, any type of requirements to become back into the Union. And the same shit was happening here in Kentucky, and so there was this nostalgic lost cause feeling for the Confederacy that just persists till today. But most especially right after the Civil War, there was like 10 governors right in a row that were ex-Confederate generals, ex-Confederate soldiers, had been arrested by the Union. And so Kentucky very much is, is a racist state, and also so it's not a big surprise that UK would have been founded by some racists also. So UK is founded by racist governors, founded by a racist. The courses were first offered at a plantation, so it was founded on segregation of the sexes, segregation of the races. And a plantation, that means that UK was directly built on the backs of slaves. So there was somebody that says, well, U of L probably was too in 1798. It's a slave state, so they might have done it too, and that might be true. That might be true. I'm not gonna, and that's also a good thing about this rivalry, is we get to hash out who's worse and who's better. So that's not a point for UK. It's a point away from both colleges. So, who is Adolf Rupp? So we're gonna find out who Adolf Rupp is coming up. Okay, Adolf Rupp is like UK's fucking just godfather of college basketball.